Opeth's Blackwater Park. Yeah, so essentially this is what a masterpiece sounds like, pretty much. I would be lying if I said that this is the first time I'm listening to this album. I've heard this album way too many times to count. Honestly, it's amongst one of my favorite albums ever. Honestly, and before I actually start talking about the songs, I gotta start talking about one of the things that I think it's a lost art, which is the album cover. The art of the album cover is kind of lost nowadays. People mostly just go on fucking, Spotify and doesn't even give a shit about the cover or whatever, right? And I think that's a shame. Because as far as Opeth is concerned, at least Blackwater Park, I mean, the entirety of Opeth's discography is really good when it comes to the album covers, but Blackwater Park, that shit slaps, bro. It slaps so fucking hard. I have never wanted to get any type of merch from bands because I think it's incredibly overpowered, and quite frankly, I don't have the fucking money. Maybe one day when I'll have a fucking gold bar that I can like sell and shit, like maybe I'll get like two t-shirts and a hoodie because that's all a gold bar gets, nowadays, right? But honestly, when it comes to Opeth, especially Blackwater Park, man, I really thought hard about getting one. Maybe when I have money, I'll probably get it because that shit slaps so fucking hard. Honestly, it's such a great album cover. Honest, there's very few bands that I can say that I look at their fucking album covers and I go, holy fuck, that's amazing. To the point where I go, you know what? I'm gonna listen to that shit. Just based on the fucking album cover alone. And I mean, to be fair, being honest, that's not the reason why I listened to this album. The reason is I pretty much found out about Opeth when they released Sorceress because of the song Era. And then I came across Pale Communion and then I was like, holy shit, shit slaps, I want to, well, I guess spoilers, but this shit slaps. So I went through the entirety discography of Opeth because I was like, what, man, fucking, if all of their albums are like Pale Communion, I'm gonna be like, holy shit, this is amazing. And then they weren't, and it was a fucking disappointment because apparently their fucking first few albums were death metal albums, which not a huge fan personally, and definitely I do need to go back to like the earlier albums because I do think that maybe I didn't appreciate them enough because, I was like, first album, who cares, I can somewhat see Opeth or like hear Opeth, but not that great, and then I went through all of them and then I was like, you know what, fuck it, it's getting better with time. Hopefully I come across, an album where I'm like, oh, like this is where Opeth is Opeth, right? This is how people know of Opeth, and eventually Blackwater Park was the album that I was listening to, and I really fucking disliked it. I did not like it at all. I was listening to it on the bus, and I even remember I got to the last song, The Drapery Falls, which I don't know if it's the last song of the album or if I was playing everything on shuffle, which I guess I'm that crazy person that I complained about yesterday. But, I was listening to the album, and I got to The Drapery Falls, and I was like, bro, do I even, like, finish the fucking song? Like, it sounds kind of bad, I did finish the song, but yeah, I didn't like the album too much. But then, I was sitting there like, you know what? The fucking chorus from Bleak is really good. I wanna listen to them again. And because I'm lazy, instead of, just listening to the chorus, I listened to the entire fucking song. And then I started liking more parts of the song, and then I liked the song a lot, and then I was like, I wanna hear more like that, So I just listened to the rest of the album, and then I realized, actually, you know what? It's a fucking banger. It's a fucking banger. It's really fucking good, honestly. The album is just really great. By far, this is the album that sort of, to me, set the standard of prog metal albums. Like, I cannot listen to a prog metal album nowadays without going, well, but is it as good as Blackwater Park? And they never are. They never are. The reason as to why, and I think that that's a bad thing because so much of prog metal, especially nowadays, is very like technical, it's very showcasing skill and stuff like that. And I kinda dislike that. I think that's good if you're interested in like music and music theory, but if you're interested in just having like a different experience, I think you're gonna be disappointed with a lot of prog metal. And that sucks so much because this album kind of convinced me that prog metal was this sort of, music genre where you just try to do different things, like musically speaking, to try and achieve like a better like emotion or like a different story, or just try and be creative with it, you know what I mean? Like essentially prog metal to me, because of this album, I felt that prog metal was YouTube, you know? It's like, yeah, sure, you can go and watch movies, you know, that professionally made or whatever, or you can go on YouTube and just watch people be fucking creative as shit, you know? And obviously that didn't turn out too well, because most prog metal albums aren't like this at all. But the reason is why I fucking love this album as a prog album is that it just creates such a good fucking atmosphere. Like, this album's atmosphere is unparalleled to anything I've ever fucking heard. You know, like, you hear a lot of albums and you go, oh, yeah, the songs are catchy, you know, the songs are... You hear this album and you go, holy fuck, I'm in an abandoned town, fucking demons are fucking searching for me, and I got a fucking eye type thing, and, you know, fight my demons, and I'm trying to drown them, but they know how to swim, and, you know, that type of fucking shit, you know, it's that fucking strong, you know. I listen to the first few seconds of a song and I instantly, like, mentally, I get transported to, like, fucking images of, like, this fucking just depressing wasteland, you know, where you're gonna fucking struggle with your mental health because it's all in your head or whatever type of fucking, you know, psychological horror type thing, you know. It's that strong of an atmosphere, you know, and that's rare to have in albums, and it's hard to achieve, I get it, but this album does it so fucking well. It's so tight. And then, because we're talking about prog songs, you know, these aren't songs that last for 3 minutes, you know, they're songs that last for... The shortest song on the album is like 7 minutes, you know, like, you actually get to almost make up a story in your mind as the song progresses, and kind of like trying to... It's not even trying to figure out the story, it's just trying to create one based on the sound that the album passes you, because the sound passes you, or the album passes you the sound as a way of, like, making you creative almost to the entire situation. It's that strong of, like, a musical, you know, I guess, fucking image. I don't want to use the word image a lot, but it is, you know. So it does it really fucking well. And alongside that, and probably one of the most underrated things in the entirety of fucking prog metal, which I really fucking hate most of the fucking times, because most bands don't actually do this very well, the transitions. I am sorry, but a lot of prog metal bands, I'm listening to them, and I fucking, you know, they just all of a sudden change their tempo and shit like that, and it feels like you just got, like, woken up, because, you know, you were vibing with that part of the song, and then you just got woken up or whatever. With this album, it never feels like that. Don't get me wrong, the songs have plenty of fucking changes, you know, there's a fuckload of riffs and stuff like that change throughout the song. Don't get me wrong, those changes exist, the songs are long for a reason, right, and they're very creative. I think there are a lot of songs here could be divided into multiple songs, because they're that strong, right, the different sections of the songs are that strong. But here's the thing, and that's what I like, the transitions make everything feel like the entire song belongs together, you know. For example, in Bleak, before the chorus hits, prior to that, there's a section where you are just sort of hearing this lead guitar, I guess, changing the riffs, and as it's changing the riff, it changes the riff to the chorus, right, or like to the riff that is going to be the pre-chorus, basically, and then the chorus enters. That connects so well to that riff, and it all feels so natural. It feels like it's flowing, you know, it doesn't feel so brute, right? It feels super, super, like, flowing, you know, it's just vibing, everything just connects together really effortlessly, you know. It feels really fucking good to listen to the album. And look, I get it, you know, I'm probably one of those annoying fucking prog fans that actually only cares about catchy songs rather than, you know, the technicality of it or whatever, right? But personally, that's what I value in music. It's the, you know, people being able to tell a story through it and being able to communicate with me with the music, with the song. And I think this album does it really, really fucking well when it comes to those two things, right? Outside of that, and to speak more generally about the songs, I think that Patterns in the Ivy is probably the most disappointing song, not because it's bad or because it takes you out of the atmosphere or whatever, but because it's less than 2 minutes long. Like, the song is basically, like, it's not filler. Like, what was it? There's a specific name that songs in albums use that are just there to sort of like, again, not necessarily fill time, but more to serve as a transition between songs and whatnot. And Patterns in the Ivy is that song. And it's a fucking shame because honestly, it's an haunting song. It sounds really fucking cool. It's just, it doesn't have any of the metal elements or whatever. It's just an acoustic guitar with a couple of, I guess, keyboard sounds sort of in the background. And it's fucking good. I just wish it was longer, honestly. I just wish it was longer. I wish it was like 4 or 5 minutes long. I wouldn't even mind, honestly, 10 minutes long. I think it's super strong of a song, Yes, as the part of the atmosphere, I guess, it does sort of change because it's far more toned down, and in a way it does feel like you're seeing a different perspective of the same place, while every other song is like, you have guitars and you have screaming, and then it sort of goes into these more melodic sections, without any growling or anything like that. Because, yeah, I'm not a huge fan of growling. And then I listened to this album, and look, if you're not delivering growling with the same melodies that Opeth is delivering, I'm not gonna like your growling. But Opeth, I open the fucking exception. Again, this album really broke down a lot of barriers, or I guess a lot of walls for me when it comes to music. It was that impactful. It took a while for me to get adapted to it, obviously, because it took me a few listens for me to actually, really get into it. But yeah, it was honestly like, wait, what the fuck was I talking about? Yeah, I was talking about the fucking song. But yeah, this song is just completely different, and but it feels part of the same play in a way. Like, okay, here's how I would describe it. I would describe this song as the same song or the same type of song that plays in Resident Evil games when you are in the safe zones, right? Like, there's some safe rooms where you save the game and stuff like that. The songs in those safe rooms are way more toned down, way more relaxed and everything. They don't take you out of the immersion of the game and the atmosphere of the game, but they're safe, you know what I mean? I think that these Patterns in the Ivy is the same shit, basically. It's the exact same thing. It's like, you have a song that sort of makes you feel safe without breaking the immersion of what the album is and the place you are in, right? The song that does that, however, is Harvest. I'm gonna be honest, I like Harvest a lot as a song. In the album, though, and in the context of the album, I really don't like it too much. I think that it's by far the most diverse song, or I guess the most different song of the album, and to me, kinda ruins the album type thing, right? I mean, it doesn't ruin that. You cannot fucking ruin the album, honestly, but it's a song that mostly probably takes me out of the album because, in a way, while sonically speaking, it fits the same registry of the album. And look, I get it. They had to release a single to ironically, that's the second shortest song of the album. And I get it, they had to release a single to fucking record label bullshit, marketing, blah blah blah, the same old with music. But I'm kind of disappointed because, to me, Harvest would be a really good song to have, again, even in a Pale Communion, Sorceress, it sounds much more it still sounds somewhat dark, don't get me wrong, right? The rest of the album sounds dark. This song kind of sounds dark as well, but it kind of takes me away from it because while Patterns in the Ivy is a song that can, essentially actually add to the immersion by just providing a different perspective of the place that I got transported into when I was listening to the album, I think Harvest kind of breaks that because I think it requires a completely different perspective. The perspective I have when it comes to Harvest, when it comes to the type of place that the song like Harvest invokes, is different than the rest of the songs of the album. And that kind of sucks because, again, it's a really good song. Harvest, it's a fan favorite for a reason, but I think it has to a certain degree, it kind of breaks that part of the album. But again, if you're just listening to the songs themselves and whatnot, I think that as an album, this is incredibly fucking strong. And look, again, because the song is really fucking good, I can justify it doing that. Honestly, to me, I can like look the other way and it's fine. Like let's just pretend you're actually part of the album or whatever, right? But yeah, those are probably the two righteous risks. Because the rest of the songs are just bangers through and through. I don't think there's any fillers. I know that sometimes people discuss about, fillers like the funeral portrait, for example. People, oh, that's a filler. Whatever. Completely disagree. Right, the Dirge for November, same thing. Like some people are like, oh, that's kind of it's not a filler. I completely fucking disagree with all of them. Right, it's very fucking strong of an album, and it's that fucking good. Right. My favorite song, though, I think it's by far the Drapery Falls. I think especially the intro with the intro lyrics, right? The first initial section is really strong. Like, I can understand why people like I also love Bleak. And then like Blackwater Park, the self-titled is or the title track of the album. Obviously, really fucking strong. People love it, but yeah, to me, probably the Drapery Falls is by far the strongest song in the album. Ironically, it wasn't neither the first or the second to actually be the ones that I actually did enjoy a lot. And ironically, it was a song that when I first listened to the album, I actually considered skipping altogether. I was just fucking tired of it, and I was like, oh, this song sucks. I mean, I did think that the rest of the album also sucked, as I thought that the previous fucking 4 albums also sucked. So I'm probably, like, again, this album had everything to go wrong when it came to me not liking it. And then for some fucking reason, now it's one of my favorites of the fucking band and of any album out there, honestly. I really fucking love this album, honestly. I was listening to it like 2 or 3 days ago, and yeah, wow, like I can understand why I fucking love this thing. It's that fucking strong of an album. So yeah, honestly, if I were to score it when I first heard it, I would probably score like a 4 out of 10, maybe 5 out of 10. Right now, though, as it stands, it's a 10 out of 10. Like, I'm sorry. But like you shouldn't give perfect scores, blah blah blah. I don't give a fuck. It's a 10 out of 10. Like I will always forever. If anyone comes up to me and asks me, hey, can you recommend me a prog metal album to like for me to understand what prog is all about? This is the fucking album I'm recommending them. Yes, sure, it's hard to get into whatever, but like if you give it time, if you give it the space, and if you like commit to it, if you say, you know what, I'm gonna give it a fair shot, and I'm gonna try to actually engage with the music, try and like actually picture myself and like try and absorb and try to actually be there in the music. This is one of the fucking strongest albums that I've ever fucking heard. It's that fucking good. So yeah, to me, 10 out of 10, easy like that.